When you say construction, everyone thinks like bricklayers, ground workers, plant operators. They don't think of everything else that comes with it: architects, planners, QSing, land, that kind of thing. So I'm sort of conscious of that. And obviously, being a young female, everyone, when I started my business, was like, oh, really? Like, you're 23, what the hell do you know? And there was a lot of stigma attached to that you almost had to sort of go above and beyond to prove that you were almost equal with like a male counterpart. So I was always on the back foot. And so for me, I think that's probably my driving force, to actually say, just because I am female doesn't mean I'm at a disadvantage.
Kelly Cartwright, welcome to the Purpose-Led Leadership Podcast. Delighted to have you on the show. We've been speaking on LinkedIn for a little bit. Actually, you were kind enough to give me one of your amazing diaries, which was nice of you. I've always wanted to speak to you, always wanted to get you on the show. So tell the audience a bit about yourself. What do you currently do now?
So I own a construction recruitment business based in Norwich.
How's all that going for you at the moment?
Yes, really well, actually. Obviously, the housing markets took a bit of a hit over the last sort of few months, which does impact that side of our business, but we are quite fortunate. Obviously, never put all our eggs in one basket. So yeah, we're ticking over nicely.
No, absolutely. I don't know if there are awards behind you, but they look like they are. I want to start with that. You've won quite a number of awards. You've kind of blown up the sector in a way in terms of the, being a woman in the sector, right? So tell us about, the recent awards and that dress as well.
I think a lot of people have seen the dress, or dresses, I should say. That just started from sort of a bit of a passing comment. I hate going to awards. Everyone's like, oh, you must love getting dressed up. And I actually really hate it. There's a lot of pressure, I think, on how you look. Like you blokes turn up, you have a suit on, everyone's in the same sort of attire. There's no like, oh, look at their dress, or, So there's a lot of pressure about what you wear. And I said to my husband, oh, I just wish I could go on my PPE. I feel so much more comfortable. And he sort of said, well, why don't you? I was like, don't be ridiculous. Like, what a stupid idea. Like, why would you even mention it? And then my brain just started to tick over, and I thought, hang on a minute. There's a lot of talk about sort of ill-fitting PPE. So I thought, hang on a minute, it could be a bit of a nod to, if you've got something tailored nicely and properly, to actually fit and highlight that issue that we've got within the industry, but also being comfortable and authentic. So I messaged my seamstress and said, I've got an idea. She basically texted me back and was like, you're fucking mad. I was like, well, can you do it or not? Like, And she was like, yeah, why not? Let's go for it. I've known her a long time. So yeah. And then she was like, well, this is just crazy. But yeah, 5 months later, the dress was born.
But the impact, though, did you get on the news because of it? It was certainly, you got recognised quite a lot, didn't you?
Yeah, it was scary, really scary. I didn't envisage how much that would blow up. Obviously, I thought, it's going to get a bit of traction. It is a bit of a sort of out there statement. But I didn't quite realise. I never forget driving back from the awards after it sort of hit the social media platforms and the news and bits and pieces, and my phone was just on fire. For me, if I'm really honest with you, my brain just felt so overwhelmed. Like luckily I had a weekend away booked in, and it was actually really nice to turn my phone off because it just didn't stop. Like, you'd reply to a message, 5 more would come through.
Why do you think that was the case, though? Let's delve a bit deeper in terms of, obviously there's a huge stigma with the construction sector in itself about it probably being quite a sexist industry, let's be honest. Probably underplaying it a little bit there. But just talk to us about that element of it, because for you to then do what you do and that kind of stuff, I mean, do you have a particular modus operandi or objective as to why you're doing what you're doing?
I think it's important that, we want to change how construction looks. We want more people to come into it, younger generation, preferably female. There's a massive skill shortage, and obviously there's a massive untapped market of females that don't realise they could actually have a place and a career within the industry. When you say construction, everyone thinks like bricklayers, ground workers, plant operators. They don't think of everything else that comes with it: architects, planners, QSing, land, that kind of thing. So I'm sort of conscious of that. And obviously, being a young female, everyone, when I started my business, was like, oh, really? Like, you're 23, what the hell do you know? And there was a lot of stigma attached to that you almost had to sort of go above and beyond to prove that you were almost equal with like a male counterpart. So I was always on the back foot. And so for me, I think that's probably my driving force, to actually say, just because I am female doesn't mean I'm at a disadvantage. And just trying to inspire people. And I'm a bit, probably some people think I'm a bit of a dick, but nothing really, phases me. I'm happy to be the person that's like sticks their head up the parapet when everyone else is like cowering away from it. So yeah, that was probably my driving force. But also from a selfish perspective, I was like, I don't want to wear these dresses and spend a fortune every single awards. Hence why the PPE dress was bought, really.
So what type of people do you actually place then and deliver for your current business? Is it everyone and everyone, or is it more specific?
So anything that comes under construction. So we both do temp and permanent recruitment. So you've got temp, which is really fast paced, and that's anything from just a general labourer all the way up through site management. We also do sort of fixed term contracts, and then obviously the permanent side as well. And then the permanent side of things is anything that encompasses a construction business. So whether that's, a director level, QS, planner, administrator, and such like.
Because I've built a couple of my own boutique recruitment businesses in the property management and construction sector. And I know for a fact that actually in many aspects of that sector, there's a lot of regulation actually, and there's a lot of boxes you need to be ticked. Whereas I think sometimes the stigma is that it's just because you've had a cowboy builder means the whole construction sector is a bunch of cowboys. It's not the case, right?
No, not at all. But there are some. I'm not going to lie, there are.
No, of course. So how would you describe that sector? What do you think the good, bad, and the ugly of the sector actually is? Then, would you say?
I think the bad is sometimes it's a bit of an old man's field, as you have got that stigma around it. You have got the element of you are out in the weather, whether it's peeing down with rain, windy, storms. If you're out on site as a tradesperson, you are out in those elements, which when the less favourable weather's about, that's pretty tough. But when obviously the sun's shining, it's amazing. But then also I think from the positive side of things, it's a very rewarding industry. When we place people and you turn a field into, development of houses, you have had part of building a community, people's family homes where they create memories and things like that. So that side of things is very rewarding. And also sort of seeing people's journey for us. We've had guys that have started for us from a lower end, sort of as a labourer, that have over the years have then progressed and done different qualifications and then progressed throughout their careers. So we had a chap who came to us looking for an opportunity. He started as a labourer, and then now he's an assistant site manager, and he actually rings me booking in labour. And obviously that for us is amazing to be part of his growth and his career progression. Sure.
So let's find out a bit more about you as a person then. I'm always intrigued to get to know my guests in a bit more detail. This is the purpose of the Leadership Podcast. So tell us about your journey then since school. Give us a bit of a story.
Oh God. So I was at school. I left in 2008. Always had the ambition to go into advertising and marketing. I was very creative, very arty from a young age. So I went to City College in Norwich, studied my A levels, and I had a job lined up in Norwich with an advertising company once I'd passed, but I fell into recruitment. So I had a little 106, needed some field money. So I got an administration job with a national recruitment business. And that was only going to be sort of a stopgap until I got my qualifications, and then I had the job lined up, and then I never left. I fell in love with recruitment and the buzz of it, and I stayed, and I declined the job and said, thanks ever so much for keeping the post open, but I'm not taking it. And haven't looked back, in a nutshell.
Amazing. Well, we'll talk about all the trials and tribulations of being a recruiter and, the highs and lows of that. But having looked at your profile in detail and your Instagram and what you've achieved, you seem on the face of it to have an enormous amount of confidence. Would you say that's the case? And how did you get that confidence? Or is it not the case?
I think some days you think you're unstoppable and you're untouchable, but we all have that imposter syndrome that niggles at the back of our head.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And have you got any examples where you had to kind of dig deep and kind of, overcome those anxious moments?
Public speaking for me is massive. I can't stand it. As much as probably social media will tell you otherwise, I look mega confident and everyone says I come across really well. Yeah. Beforehand, I'm literally popping calms and Imodium like they've gone out of fashion, because I just, that imposter syndrome, it's all the eyes on me, everyone's staring at me, and you've got to deliver this, whatever you're doing, to the best of your ability. That for me is the worst thing in the world.
That really resonates with me. Why do you think that is, though? Because obviously, on a day-to-day basis, you can walk into a construction site, you can wear that dress, and all these. But it's a strange one, right?
I think when I walk on site, that feels like home to me a little bit, as like cliche as that might sound. Whereas I think when you're stood in an auditorium or on stage or at the front of a presentation hall or whatever, I find that, I don't know why, I just find it really daunting. It just, I don't know, like I say, it's just that imposter syndrome for me is very overwhelming. I had it last year as well. I went to the finals of the Great British Entrepreneur Awards, and I walked in, I think it's the Grosvenor in London, and I've never been in a room with so many people. There's like 1,500 people. It was packed. Yeah. And I turned to my husband. I just looked at him and was like, "Oh my God! Like, have you seen how many people there are?" And that's literally all I sent to the girls. Like, I sent a photo. I was like, "Look how busy it is!" Like, little old me from Norwich. You're sitting on tables with sort of directors and like doctors and all these amazing people of these, multi-million-pound successful businesses, and you look and think, what the fuck am I doing here? And that for me was baffling. And you're sort of sitting there, and it was hard because I sort of, the award I was up for was the last category, and I was up against people like Daniel Priestley and people like that.
Oh wow! Well, yeah, Daniel's been on my show here. Yeah, he's a great guy.
He's amazing, right? And I thought he's going to win it hands down. He didn't, and I won it, and I was just baffled. And you get to that point, you sort of see the shortlist and the finalists, and you think, I've got no hope in hell. And it was the last category. I was, getting to the point you're just sitting there thinking, why am I even sitting here just to be like disappointed? And then my name come out, and I was like, oh shit, it's me.
What category? What award was it in?
So it was the Young Entrepreneur Award. He won a different category. Don't get me wrong. Like, obviously he's doing phenomenal things, but the one I'm talking about is the Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award, which was my last year I could have won it.
So what do you think it takes to be a good entrepreneur then? Obviously, you've got experience of doing it.
I don't know, because I wouldn't even put myself up for an award or even in the category. So you just think, well, someone must have seen something in the nomination. I don't even, like I say, would love to see the nomination to actually know what was said. I'm just me. I think there's a lot of people out there that will say, oh yeah, being an entrepreneur, running your own business is great, and we have all the nice bits and pieces. And don't get me wrong, there are some nice bits and pieces, but there's a lot of shit bits as well. And I think I'm very authentic. I don't want to sort of be almost on this sort of, you see it, don't you? With years ago, I remember my old boss years ago was sat in his ivory tower, wasn't really interested, didn't have any connection with anyone. And it was, I'm the boss, and that was it. That's not how I am at all. I sort of see myself as part of the team and integrate with the staff, because I think that's so important.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think sort of 10, 15, 20 years ago, I think leaders got away with being quite dictatorial and kind of pushing people around a little bit and kind of asking or expecting them to run through a brick wall for them. But I think with the social media that's come to the fore loads over the last 10, 15 years, I think the true nature of human beings has come out. And I think people like yourself and other people, they're winning because they are actually being themselves, and people do buy from people actually. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've all fell into the trap. When we were doing our website not that long ago. You sort of have all the nice spiel on it, and then I was looking at it and I thought, if you looked at that and then met me, you'd think, well, I don't really match you, Kelly. And it wasn't a true reflection of our business. And I then changed it, and it's now exactly sort of me reflected on a website and what our team and our ethos is about. You know, we are in construction, we can have a bit of banter. I don't take life too seriously. My email signature's got me with my high-vis dress on, my boots on, like just pissing around. Because if I had a corporate headshot, you'd look and think, well, that's not Kelly, and that's not how I want our business to be reflected.
So talk to us about then some of the saddest or darkest time you've had in your life, and how you overcame those. You must have had a few wobbles in your life.
I think like I say, some days are good, some days are bad. I think one of the toughest challenges for me was COVID. Obviously, overnight, the business sort of pretty much came to a standstill. You feel personally responsible for your staff and obviously the guys and girls that work for us on site. And you're trying to navigate something that nobody's ever navigated before in their life. And everyone looks to you for all these answers. And I didn't have the answers. And for the first time in your life, you think, I ain't got a fucking clue. And I don't really know what I'm even doing. Do you know what I mean? So that was probably the toughest point. Many tough conversations, many arguments with people, because people sort of think, well, that's all right for her. She's, cushy with her own business. And, I had a guy, I never forget it, he went, that's all right for you driving around in your fucking car and you're living in your nice big house. I was like, I haven't took a wage for a few months because I've left the money in the business. But yeah, thanks. And it's sort of the perception that is deemed by the people. And that was really, really tough. But again, it's just being honest and talking to people. When my team looked for me for the answers, I didn't blag it and say, oh yeah, I was like, I don't know. But none of us know. I don't know what, Boris is going to say when he does his next announcement as to, what we can and can't do. And, if we come back to the office, there'll be certain things we have to do to make sure we comply and keep safe and all the rest of it. But I'm sort of quite determined, and I thought I'm not going to, all the hard work and effort and everything I've built over the years, I was like, I'm not going to just let just disappear.
I think that's really refreshing though, because it's all too easy in that situation as a leader or manager to kind of blag it and say stuff that isn't necessarily true just to keep the peace. And often people want the truth, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. They want to know, actually, I don't know, or it's this or that. And I think that's a real refreshing approach, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, and somebody, I'll never forget it, that's in sort of a similar level to me, he's got his own business, he posted something and it really resounded with me when COVID happened. And we're all just trying to navigate the situation that none of us have ever experienced before. Like, just be patient, you're all coming to us for answers, but we haven't got the answer. We're navigating it just as much as anyone else. And that really sort of resonated with me. And I thought, yeah, you're right. Like, I ain't got a clue. It depends, Boris changed his mind like the bloody wind, didn't he, half the time?
Yeah, of course.
One minute we're like, oh, yeah, no, construction stops. The next minute it's like, build, let's go. We're like, what? Last week it was, no, you can't. You're not key worker.
So what's your view of because your LinkedIn's really good, it blows up, and your Insta's good. So what's your view of social media and LinkedIn? Because my view is that, don't get me wrong, LinkedIn is and always will be a phenomenal platform for me. I've made so many friends, I've built amazing businesses from there, but also it can be awash with a lot of crap, being polite. What do you think?
I think you've got to be really careful. I always say social media is the edit highlights. You always see the good bits. You'll never see the shit bits. So I'm always mindful of not just going, oh, look at me, I'm doing this, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Trying to be authentic as well as saying, actually, I posted, I get really bad anxiety rash when I public speak. I posted about that quite openly a few years ago, because everyone sees, oh, yeah, Kelly's going doing this, that and the other, but doesn't actually see the anxiety and obviously what actually visually you can then see with the anxiety rash. So I'm mindful of trying to be this authentic person by also showing the shit bits. Like, the girls posted on our socials last year. I went to an awards. I drove to the awards, did the awards, drove back. I got changed in a public car park. And there was a photo, my husband took a photo, just pissing around to send to the girls going, this is the reality. Like, here's Kelly in her dress, but this is her getting changed to come home. And they actually posted it on social media to say, you might think, oh, these awards are great, but actually the reality is this is also what happens, because I've also got a business to run and get back for.
It's so true though. You can look at someone in a glamorous dress or whatever, or you on stage winning an award and doing a speech or whatever, and but people don't realise the heart and soul and pain and the reality of it is to get there. And you strike me as someone who's very kind of down to earth, and but also is traditional in the sense of, you know, you work hard and, you know, you've kept your ethics and your morals in play. Have you changed as a person as your business has got bigger or
I think, oh yeah, when I started, you know, I thought I'd made it, I knew everything, and I was the dog's bollocks. But I probably made some shitty decisions, don't get me wrong, and I'm sure I've probably got a few haters for that, and that's fine. But I think for me, I've learned as a person that everyone's very different. Everyone's got very different needs. As a manager, you know, you've got some people that need more hands-on management, some people want less hands-on, and it's just, you grow and develop as a person. And actually you look at, you know, it's exactly with what I said with our website. You look and think that's what a customer wants to see. No, it isn't. They want to see what they're dealing with, who they're dealing with, not the usual, because recruiters do get a bad name of, oh, bloody recruitment agencies. And that's not, you know, I don't want to fall into that trap, because we're not the traditional recruiter that everyone thinks, oh, fucking hell, she's ringing me again, trying to sell me something. So that's really important. And I also sort of think, as I've got a bit older now, don't get me wrong, I'm not sort of about to retire, but you look back and think, if I was, you know, back at 23 starting my own business, I wish I had the networking side of things that we have now and the peer groups. So I'm trying to sort of give back locally to the younger generations. I'm heavily involved with the Norfolk Chamber of Commerce and also their Co-Next provision, which is all to do with young professionals under 35. And actually just be part of that, because I missed and lacked that. And I probably wouldn't have made as many fuck ups if I had a better network of peers, if that makes sense, back in the day.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Talk to us about some of those fuck ups then, because it's been well documented and I've been very open about. I built a massive 25 million quid business, but on that journey, I was a bit of an arsehole, actually. I fucked up loads of stuff, and if I knew then what I knew now, I'd be a different person. But we all grow and learn, and we've got to own it sometimes. So, what are the differences between the new Kelly and the old Kelly? And give us some examples where you might have done something, not necessarily you regret, but you could have been better at.
I think sometimes you sort of, when I was younger, I think I took everyone and trusted everyone, and, you know, sometimes people took the piss, whereas now I set my stall out very early on of, these are my expectations. All I say to me, I'm very, you know, black and white, is my biggest thing is just don't lie to me. And that's, you know, you'd give people benefit of the doubt after the doubt, and then people take the piss and you think, what am I doing? Like, you are just simply mugging me off. Whereas I'm probably less tolerant in that respect, but also more tolerant in terms of sort of people skills. Like, for me, back in the day, everything was business. Like, I don't give a shit about X, Y, Z. Like, all I care about is business. Now, ultimately, business is what makes the world go round, and earning money does. But also, I'm very conscious of, you never know what's going on at home and what people are going through. So I'm sort of I'm probably more compassionate than I was when I was 23. Whether that's from sort of my own experiences or things you've had happen close to you where you think, shit, I didn't even know that was going on with that person. Because they're so, you know, they put a mask on. So I think, and that for me, I think is one of my massive learning curves. But I also would say, just actually looking at how I wanted to be treated as an employee makes me a better employer, if that makes sense. So years ago, I was like, you know, you'd think, oh, well, you should feel grateful you're working for me. Whereas now I'm like, hang on a minute. I'm grateful you want to work for me, because I adore my team, and actually making them feel special. Like, you know, little things, just, you know, buying them their favourite chocolate bar, or recognising special anniversary or birthday, things like that, Christmas. just the little bits and pieces. Like my girls, they're amazing, and I do every year do them an Easter egg hunt. Like they're in their 30s, but they absolutely love it, and it's just those little things that makes the little efforts.
Oh,
And it goes a
totally.
long way.
I think it's a misconception, right? I think that obviously money is really important to most people, but actually it's not always the be all and end all. It's those little things, but making them feel like they've got a seat at the table, they're part of the decision-making process, that you care, you listen, there's development in there. I think so many people underestimate that if you have a serving leadership style, you end up getting so much more back from your people, don't you?
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a two-way street. Like sometimes if someone says, oh, can I nip off half an hour early? I've got an appointment or whatever. It's sometimes just things like that you think, well, yeah, because I'm sure there'll be some time that I'll need you to stay a little bit later. And a lot of the time people forget that when you look at regimented hours and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, it's not just to turn up when you fancy, but if someone needs an extra half an hour here or there, like what's that in the grand scheme of things? Because I'm sure you'll get that half an hour and some back in other circumstances.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But also as well, I think that there was an element, I think a couple of years ago, where it almost swung so far the other way, where the employee was almost like calling the shots too much and saying, I'm working from home every day of the week, and you've got to give me this. I've got to have, an on-call doctor pretty much every, I actually think there's a balance as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%. And it's trying to get the balance of both sides. But like I say, I think years ago I was very, it's my way or the highway type of thing. Whereas now I think I've mellowed a little bit more.
Did you learn any harsh lessons along that journey then? Because I actually lost the business along my journey. Has anything sort of happened to you was it a sort of process around you sort of learning as you go along a little bit to become a better leader?
I think like I've not suffered like to the extremities you have, but you look back and sort of think, yeah, I've made a few mistakes and damaged a few friendships and relationships and stuff. So I think you then regret those, but what's done is done, and you can't change what's happened. And I think it all ends up to where we are anyway. And I'm a bit of a believer of it's the path we should have took and you're where you should be. But you do sort of look back and then think, oh yeah, I could do that better. And you do learn from things. So yeah, I wouldn't change it. I have regrets, but I wouldn't change it because I also then wouldn't be where I am now.
No. So let's talk about recruitment then. What do you think it takes to be a good recruiter? You said you're not traditional. I want to know a bit more about how you run the business and what makes you a bit different to everybody else.
I think we're just us, the girls, we have a crack, nothing really phases any of us because construction is a man's world. There is a lot of banter, which some people might not like, or, people swear. The amount of times you get called X, Y, and Z, like I say, it doesn't phase us at all. And actually, we want to be part of someone's business, understand their business, and not just be that, I've got to ring the recruitment agency because I need something. I don't think there's any real special recipe. I think it's just be good at what you do. We don't want to spread ourselves too thin and go into a multitude of different sectors. We just want to do what we do and do it well.
On the kind of the men and the women thing and the sexism, which happens in most sectors, but it's probably worse, let's be honest, in construction and maybe even in recruitment as well. What do you think men can do more or be better at to help women? And also the question in reverse, what do you think women could do more to help men? Do I say it?
Problem is, I think there's such a stigma that people think women will come in and steal their jobs or whatever. So men are a bit like, to begin with, but actually when you break down that, I think some of my biggest champions are men, if I'm honest with you, like clients, friends. I've got a very strong male friendship circle in comparison to a female circle. I find females can be really bitchy. You've also got to be very cautious with sometimes what you say around other females. Like obviously a lot of people aren't like me. Like you could literally stand in front of me and shout in my face and I'd just be like, whatever, because I'm just that temperament. Whereas some people that they'd be really upset, understandably, and that'd affect them. So I think it's very difficult. I don't think there's a real right or wrong answer. I think there just needs to be some space and understanding between men and women that Men can't do everything, women can't do everything, we need each other. And I think that's quite a simple sort of analogy on it all. I also don't think, as women coming into construction is great, but it will never get to the 50-50 split. It will never be women are more in construction than men, I don't believe. And I think I don't want it to be like that.
No, I mean, there's obvious examples of where women are disadvantaged compared to men. That's just fact. But I also think there are some areas where men have the rougher end of the stick as well. And I honestly believe people might not agree with me, but in general terms, it's fairly equal. I actually think it's fairly equal. I think that half the time we're moaning about things that aren't, and we're ignoring other stuff. So I just think also we need each other. So let's just try and collaborate and get on with each other.
Yeah, and that for me is the biggest sort of point is we need everyone. We need everyone, and that's the thing of we've got to understand, the difference of human anatomy. Like you say, women aren't necessarily as strong as men and things like that. So you've got to understand those points as well. But it's very difficult, and I think sort of ties back into your social media point of you've got to be very careful because not everyone will agree with you. And if as soon as you say something on social media that could be misconstrued, I know. So what's the future looking like for you then? What's the plan ahead for you? What do you want to achieve the rest of your life? So everyone asks me that, and I don't really know. I just enjoy. I'm a bit of we've all got long term aspirations. I don't want to work till I'm whatever the retirement age, 60, whatever it is now. But I also enjoy the journey. So I think I would miss. If I retired from recruitment, I'd miss the buzz because obviously it is go. I need someone. I need it now, and I do enjoy that and thrive off that. So I don't actually know. So yeah, when I figure that out, I can always let you know.
Yeah, that'd be good. Well, you've done so well so quickly. In terms of recruitment, then, what pisses you off about the recruitment sector in itself?
Quite a lot. It's bitchy. It's quite nasty, especially like within competitors of different recruitment businesses. When actually there's enough work for us all, so why do we need to be a dickhead towards each other? In my opinion, I don't like the connotation that comes with. As soon as you say to somebody, I own a recruitment company or I'm a recruiter, that's the instant, oh God, because you are effectively a salesperson, let's be honest. And I don't like how that is reflected. And you can see people's behaviour change as soon as you say that. I also think we're always the chaser because we're always chasing the work, if that makes sense. Whereas you see it from other sides of the coin, from different businesses where people are chasing them. We're never the person being chased. We're always the chaser. And I don't like that sometimes. Sometimes you just want someone to go, I'm going to chase you because I want to work with you, Kelly. So it can be quite tough in that respect. And obviously when things go wrong, we're not perfect. We deal with humans, things happen. That frustrates me because sometimes people forget the amount of times people say, can you guarantee 100% this person will be here tomorrow morning? I'm like, no, because I can't even guarantee myself. Like I've got all the intention in the world to be at work tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow because it's Saturday, but I've got all the intention, but if something at home happens or I don't know, my car breaks down or whatever it might be, I won't be there. And I think people sometimes forget we aren't miracle workers. We are human beings.
Totally agree. I put a post about this about a year ago, and the title was "Recruitment is one of the hardest jobs in the world," or certainly one of the hardest sell jobs in the world. And people would really criticise and say, "What about this? What about that?" What the context of it is that we're dealing with people. People can change their minds. We're not selling a pen or a car or a watch. As you know, a client can change their mind at the last minute and change a salary and really piss off a candidate, or a candidate can not turn up. And I think it takes a certain type of person to be able to manage all that, right?
Yeah, and I think that, when I started in recruitment when I was 17, someone said to me, it's like spinning plates and you'll always be spinning plates. And that analogy has stuck with me through my whole recruitment life, because it's always this,
Yeah.
oh, that, and that, and that. Oh, you can't drop the ball on that because then that'll slip. And it's all those different sort of spinning plates. And, you're dealing with a multitude of different customers. We obviously deal with their sites. So you could deal with one customer and they have 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 sites. And you've got to remember where they all are, who's there, what subcontractors are there, what sort of personalities are on site, because that's a massive thing. And it's everything like that. And also trying to remember each individual. Obviously, we'll do it off a wing and a prayer. We have a system, but it's got to be in your head as well. Oh, did you book that for me in 2 weeks' time? Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Just going back to the kind of the men and the women thing, what's your view on this kind of like masculine, feminine energy? And there was a thing on LinkedIn about 2 years ago where the CEO cried, and you got absolutely, so much shit at it, thrown at him for it. But I think that there's a definite place for vulnerability with men and for women, and in showing your emotion and that kind of stuff. But what's your general view of that kind of aspect?
I think it's difficult, especially in construction, because there is that stigma about you're a man, man up, that kind of connotation. I think there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of people now recognising mental health and the issue around mental health. Obviously, it's a massive killer within our industry. And I think people are now being more open with their feelings, but you also have to be very cautious that it's also not rammed down people's throats, because it has the reverse effect. So I think it's just, for me, it's the sort of subliminal messages. Like when I'm out on site on my high vis, I'll wear the mental health ribbon because I'm a mental health first aider. People say, what's that? And it starts a conversation. We're on our merchandise, we've got sort of the Band of Builders helpline, mental health helpline. Okay. Again, it's not rammed down someone's throat, but it's there. They might see it. They might think, oh, I might need that. It's then in their head. It's very difficult. But I think people are more open about it. But I still think there's a long way to go. And unfortunately, no matter how many people are saying, open up, speak about it, it'll just take one person to then go, oh, man the fuck up. And then they'll close back down. And that's the issue. And it's the same with, it's not just for men, it's for women as well. But I think for some reason, the human brain will always focus on the negative. You probably get it all the time, where you post something on social media, you get loads of positivity from it. And then it's the one negative comment that then sticks.
Absolutely.
And you think, why? I've got like hundreds of people saying really positive stuff, but I'm just focusing on that one negative.
I think that's right, but I also think that you could be Mother Teresa, or you could do the most caring, kind, generous thing, and that someone would always find fault in it. That's the way I kind of managed it before. I mean, I did one post on LinkedIn, it had 21 million views. It was before and after, before my divorce and after my divorce, and how much I've evolved and changed. It was a really positive post, but someone found fault in it. But I think that the whole mental health thing, for me, I'm a mental health first aider as well. And through my own mental health challenges and struggles, I've drawn strength in being open and talking to other people, and then really embrace the importance of that, and kind of not being afraid to talk to people about my own mental health as well. With yourself, I mean, what you're doing is very commendable. Has that been born out of your own mental health challenges, or why have you decided to have that as a prominent aspect of your business?
I think so. We've obviously, we deal with a lot of people and do build up really good relationships. So we've had some people close to the business, candidates and clients that have struggled with their mental health. I've seen it firsthand from sort of my close friendship circle, and also your own. You look at yourself in the mirror and sometimes you think, I'm totally bullshitting this. And actually you sort of recognising that it is really important to talk about it. Like you say, I think when you get into a position of being a leader and people look up to you and respect you, you almost feel like you can't not have your shit together. And actually being honest, of sometimes just going, do you know what? My brain is just not okay. Is actually... and I think if you've got a good team around you, they'll notice that anyway. But actually, sort of that for me is a big big part of why it's important to our business. Like, it's a massive thing within the industry, but also from my personal perspective, it's massive for me. And, you know, I've been a person to go, yeah, I'm fine, when I'm really not. We've all done it. But I'm lucky, I've obviously got very good, my other half's incredible, and he'll go, no, you're not. Who the hell are you bullshitting? And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is troubling me, because you do carry the weight of the world on your shoulders when you run your own business, you know. Cash flow, next hire, oh, what about if we don't win this contract, then how's that going to look? Oh, what about this, what about that? And it's all, you know, especially when you're on your own as well. Like, I think a lot of people say it's all right when you've got sort of a partnership, they then get it a lot more, because you can sort of bounce off each other and you're both in a position. So I think that's probably why it's so close to my heart. And I think I've probably been a person that hasn't been honest in the past, and I've just covered it up. So I think, guilty there.
Absolutely. Well done for sort of saying that. I think you mentioned the mask before. I think there are a lot of people in this world, and I used to be one of them, that used to put my suit on when I had to wear a suit, run my business, became this stoic, kind of ruthless, very kind of controlled, and almost on the outside unflappable leader. But then the reality was, it was completely the fucking opposite. And I think that if there's any advice I could give, it is about being yourself. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs who may be struggling to continue the facade almost?
I think you've just got to know your safe space. You know, I'm not saying reach out to a random person, but if you've got somebody that you can speak to confidentially, because that's the biggest thing, is when you do talk to somebody, you don't want it to be bandied about. Like, if you are struggling, you need to know that somebody has got your back and won't just, you know, as soon as you've gone, go and speak to someone who then goes, oh, by the way, so and so, and then you feel like it's being gossiped about. So I think that's the worst thing. So I think it's just actually having those honest conversations with yourself, because to hear your own voice saying, oh, I'm really struggling with X, even listening to your own voice saying it is a step in the right direction. Because I think sometimes hearing those words are probably the hardest thing, and actually saying it. You know, we can all think stuff, but I think when you actually say it to somebody of, oh, I'm really struggling with whatever, it's then that hearing those words that you then think, actually, yeah, I am. So I think for me, it's just confiding in the right person, whether that's a professional, a friend, or somebody completely sort of withdrawn from a situation, but somebody you trust. Like, a lot of people do trust in myself, because obviously I've got good relationships with our clients and our candidates. You do have those conversations. I'm involved enough, you know, especially with construction, there's a lot of pressure with time, delivery, budget constraints and stuff like that, that I would understand that, but I'm also not their wife. So I wouldn't be like, oh, being silly, like that kind of situation. So it's just having those honest conversations with somebody that you can have a trusting and confidential chat with initially.
I think it's trying to normalize it as well. Every single person in this world has a form of mental health. You know, it's just natural human beings. And I think there's absolutely no shame in it at all. And sometimes the problem in your head can feel like a mountain to climb. And I always caveat advice as this is what's worked for me, doesn't work for everyone else.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's about starting off small, and maybe today I'm going to make my bed, tomorrow I'm going to go for a 5-minute walk. And it kind of, those sort of little wins can yield big wins, and maybe getting into routine and kind of like almost stepping out of your head a little bit and just trying to have a little triumphs. Stuff like that can help, right? Yeah,
definitely. And I think, like you say, it's the honesty about it as well. You know, funny enough, this morning someone messaged me and they were saying about all the fame from the dress and things like that. And I was like, it's all been great, don't get me wrong, but it's also been really overwhelming, because it has just elevated and everyone seems to have seen it, and that's been phenomenal from that perspective. But also there's then this sort of facade, and there was a lot of pressure sort of coming after the dress that, oh, what are you wearing next then? And I was like, oh, fucking hell, I don't know. So then you almost got this additional pressure on, oh, what's she going to wear now? And that for me is really, really bizarre. Like, you don't even think about that and actually being really honest. And a lot of people that say, oh, it's been amazing. I'm like, yeah, it has been, but it's also been really overwhelming.
Because you feel like you're judged and you're watched as well. I mean, I won numerous awards, and don't get me wrong, it was great, but the sense of pride and fulfillment I get now out of helping a business owner or podcasts like this, and I'm different to what I was. I used to be chasing the money in the offices, and I sense with you, although those awards are great, your purpose is a bit more deeper than that, right?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I always say it, I appreciate every person that's ever nominated me, and all the, the awards you can see set on the shelf behind. They are phenomenal, but for me, a piece of glass with my name on it is very, surface level, I guess. For me, I'd rather, like the chap I spoke to you earlier about, who was a labourer, who's now an assistant site manager, that for me means more to me than an award saying you're amazing at whatever. That means more because I know I've genuinely helped and touched that person and changed their life.
Where do you feel you can improve as a person, do you think?
Oh, good question. Really good question. I think not letting self-doubt overshadow what I do. Because some days you think, oh, am I good at this, or have I just blagged it for however many years? So I think that's probably something I need to work on. But I don't know. Other than that, I think you've just got to enjoy the ride, I guess.
Yeah.
It's
difficult not to be. You're like me. I think you've got a growth mindset, and you always want to do better and grow. But sometimes you've got to take a step back and look at how far have I actually come as well. And I think the whole self-doubt piece, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Will it ever go away, do you think?
But then I think that's probably the recruiter in me of nothing is ever enough. Like, you'll never just settle, because that's what you are as a recruiter. Like, if you just went, yeah, that'll do, you'd never, you'd never keep chasing in recruitment. You'd never keep going after that client. You'd never keep trying to convert that money. And I think that's really important to remember is, it's nothing is ever enough. And I think that's probably why I do what I do.
So we're kind of in closing then. So outside of work, then you're married, you've got kids, I believe. Is that right? What sort of stuff do you get up to?
No children. No children.
Is that ever going to change? Is that a good thing? I don't know.
I don't know. There's a lot of pressure. As soon as you hit 30, like, oh, Kelly, your clock's ticking.
Yeah, of course.
We've always said, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We've seen so many relationships break down because of the pressure around children, having children. So I think we've both sort of said, if it happened, cool. If it don't happen, cool. Like, we're not fixated with it. And I think that's probably because of what we've witnessed firsthand through sort of our friendship circle, that just takes the edge off life. We're very blessed. We've got a really nice life, comfortable life. If we can add to it, great. But also, I don't feel like we've been robbed of anything, if that makes sense.
It's really difficult, isn't it, to win in everything: children, marriages, relationships, business, personal development, mental health. There's a lot in this world that we have to contend with, right? And sometimes, you can't do everything, right? I guess. No.
And I think, like I say, I think there's so much pressure around it that sometimes you lose the sight of actually what you've got, because everyone always, there's this natural have a relationship with somebody, buy a house, get married, have a baby, you're set, and that's your life, and that might be someone's dream, and that's fine. But if that doesn't happen for us, it doesn't happen for us. So we enjoy our life, and that's the main thing. And we enjoy traveling. We we recently took up shooting. So we're just enjoying stuff like that.
Is it clay pigeon shooting you do then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
it's fun, right?
Love it. And I think, and I always say this to everyone, it's a real mind reset for me, because you're not thinking, all right, what's for tea? Have I put the washing on? Oh, have I done this at work? Because you have a live gun in your hand. Like, you could hurt someone with it. So
I
all
think
you're thinking about is that.
that's another good piece of advice, isn't it? I think sometimes we're so transfixed on work, and sometimes it's needs must, we've got to pay the bills. But actually taking a step back and having something like that where you can escape can have a great positive effect when you do go back into work. You're more focused and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, and I'm a strong believer on, when I go away, I leave my work phone with the team, so I'm not bombarded on that. And then I turn my own phone off. That is switched off, because I think, what's the worst can happen? And that's my quality time with my other half. It's not interrupted. And also you then have that mind reset and refresh that from everything. And I don't have any emails, don't have social media, don't have anything. Like, I cannot be contacted at all.
Yeah.
And that for me then refreshes my brain. So then when I come back, I'm then like razor sharp.
So are you got plans to grow your recruitment business? Are you happy at the size as it is? What's on the agenda for you?
I think everyone wants that growth, but I also think it's got to be a strategic growth that we don't lose who we are as a business and the service level. So if it happens again, great. But if it doesn't happen, I'm happy with where we are currently. But like I say, for us, it's more, I don't want to sit here and go, oh yeah, we've got 10 offices and we do this, that and the other, if we then don't have our USP and our service element. For me, that's more important than being able to go,
I admire this, because I get the sense that, as I've said a couple of times, my goal was to have the biggest business, the most offices, the biggest watch car houses, all that kind of stuff. I've changed now. I still want to have a massive impact in the world. I still want to help as many people as possible. I still want to grow. But actually, the quality of my life now is so much better, where I can go to the gym during the day, and I can spend some time with people, and again, I can work at different times. And that, I don't think you can put a price on that. So I think, what advice would you give people in terms of they're trying? I don't believe in work-life balance, but it feels like you've got this understanding of what's important. You've got the right amount of drive, but also you've got to understand that family life and business and friends, they're all equally important. What advice would you give to help people with that kind of balance area?
I think it's difficult because I am a bit of a yes person. So I've got a bit of a FOMO of like not saying yes to something. So me and my other half, as everyone always says, oh, you're always out, you're always doing something, because I'd rather be everywhere and enjoy and experience everything. But you've also got to remember to take that time away, and you'll be a better person for it. Like the people that go, oh, I start work at 5 a.m. and I work till 11 o'clock at night because I'm so great. You're not, you're a dickhead, because you'll be knackered and you're going to be really ineffective by doing all these stupid hours. Don't get me wrong, if something needs to be done, like if we had a proposal to come through and the deadline was tight and you had to do something and stay late to get it delivered, then I totally get that. But people that chant on saying I work all the hours of sentence, I think you're an idiot. Like you, where you say I do my hours, but I can do it around everything else. That's really important. And I think sometimes you've got to remember, and this is weird saying it as a business owner, but there's more to life than work. Like, yes, my business is great and it facilitates, earning the money facilitates me to have a certain lifestyle and all the rest of it. Yeah. But also, you won't remember your life experiences, and what you'll remember when you're lying on your deathbed are going to be the experiences probably outside of work more than inside of work. So you've got to make sure that the outside of work is your priority, and actually making sure you seize all of the opportunities. That's why, like I say, I'm a bit of a yes person, social butterfly, because I want to do everything, see everything, be a part of different experiences, because I want to look back and go, oh, did you do this? Yeah, I did that. Not, oh, I wish I did, but I was working late. And sometimes some things can just wait. Like we're in a world now, like years ago, we didn't have mobile phones and emails. It was all done by fax and letter and pigeon and whatever. But actually, sometimes you look at an email and think, it's 11 o'clock at night, mate. Like, go right. It'll be there tomorrow at 9.
Absolutely. And you got to have that ability to push back, whether it's a colleague, a friend, a husband, a wife, or a client. You can say that to a client, not piss off Mr. Client, but mate, I'm going to talk to you in the morning.
Yeah. But if it is urgent, like, if we get something come through and they're like, Kelly, I need something for tomorrow morning, fine, I'll jump on it because that's urgent. But if it's just, oh, can you send me a copy of this? I'll be like, yeah, can do it in the morning.
Yeah.
Do you need,
Yeah.
is it going to be a life or death, like house is
No.
burning down moment? No.
But that's the self-respect thing as well. I think that's a really good point to end on. It's not just what you say yes to, it's how you say, what you say no to as well, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So, an absolute pleasure to get to know you. I'm sure the audience loved that one. Where can we find you? Where can they find you?
Where can they not? LinkedIn, our website, Instagram, Facebook, all the usual social media platforms.
Great. An absolute pleasure. Thanks so much, Kelly.
Thank you for having me.
The Purpose-Led Leadership podcast is sponsored by Orca Pay Group. We've chosen to partner with Orca Pay Group because they are an umbrella and payroll company that leads with trust and transparency. They cultivate enduring partnerships with sustainable growth. They aspire to live in a world where umbrella and payroll companies are trusted, where confidence is earned and transparency is essential. They operate as strategic partners for growth. They are pioneers of exceptional service, and they put their recruitment agency partners and their contractor experience at the heart of everything they do.